One of them, a guy called Malcolm, ends up dying. Two of them are hit, but they survive. And Von and Big Mike end up being charged with a count of murder and two counts of attempted murder. Or as Von would put it, a body in 2 attempts. He'd say that a lot. What ended up happening was when they sat them down for interview, Von didn't say a word. Big Mike said, I let off shots, but Von was the one that killed him. Right? So there's this thing of like, he was trying to snitch. Here's the crazy thing. Because Von said nothing, they had nothing on him. But the other guy said, I let off shots, but it was Von that killed him. So he's let everyone know that he let off shots. So as far as the jury is concerned, we got a statement of you saying you let off shots. So we got you on this case. Von didn't say anything. So they offer Big Mike a deal to say, well, tell you what, if you fully flip on Von and say Von did the murder, we're going to give you a deal. And we're going to let you out on this thing. So Big Mike says, yeah, I'll take the deal. I'm gonna flip on Von.
I'll take that deal.
Going to take on the deal. I'm going to flip on Von. And then right up when it gets to the trial, Big Mike changes his mind. He says, no deal. I'm not saying anything about Von.
He could get hit with it himself.
Well,
but he didn't.
Because Von didn't say anything the whole time, they didn't have anything on Von. Yeah. So Von gets out. Big Mike gets 18 years for the murder because he said, I let off shots. And in the end, he didn't want to turn on Von. So Big Mike...
He didn't do 18 years, though.
So he ends up doing 10. He came out just recently. This was 2014.
Got it.
So, and Von goes on to write a song called Why He Told, all about Big Mike turning on him and going to snitch on him. But the way it all played out, Big Mike ended up sitting down for the whole thing, and Von ends up getting away scot-free because he didn't make any statements. So Von comes out December 2017, beats this murder. He's just scot-free, basically. And he does a famous interview on The Breakfast Club with Charlemagne, where he's basically saying, like, I got a body in 2 attempts. Like, I just came home.
This was, I want to say this is at like the 1 hour, 45-minute mark of this video, Alessi. Go check that. If it's Durk and...
That's a hell of a memory
Durk,
if you nailed that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Durk and Von at this interview.
Am I on it? Go here. Oh.
Let's get some of that ad revenue.
I have to give him my premium. I think I've said this on 7 podcasts now.
It is on yours.
When I see anyone without premium, I'm like, damn.
Because I have the premium, but for some reason it doesn't populate the second account. Yeah, play this.
Yeah, this whole breakdown's crazy.
145.
Yeah, you nailed it.
Let's go. All right, hold on. Let me turn this on. Go ahead.
Charlemagne that he wanted to sign Von because of the backstory behind him. With Charlemagne not being
this was crazy, bro.
That's wild, isn't it? When Von started talking about beating his murder charge.
What made you want to sign King Von?
Because he got a whole story behind him.
What's the story? What's your story?
My story, I just got to jail for beat a body in 2 attempts. Like,
so you was in jail for 2 murders?
Yeah, 1 murder and 2 attempts. I just beat.
How you beat that?
I
mean, you didn't do it. Cool.
What a question.
You know, jury. Yeah, look, you know.
In the interview, you can visibly
That's what's crazy about that is it's like
and covering his tracks after Charlemagne.
You can tell Von's proud. Like I find like people didn't watch this interview close enough. It's like you can tell Von's proud when he says you didn't do it, obviously, and he's like a lawyer. I beat it because of a lawyer. He's not saying I'm innocent. I didn't do it. He's saying I beat it because of the lawyer and the jury.
The coughs, though?
And that's coming up, the coughs.
Play this. The coughs sent me. I heard this. I'm like, oh, no.
Most people didn't clock this. That's the thing. I looked at this stuff so closely.
That you got that. Like, that's like when I saw it, I'm like, all right, this dude does his homework. Because that shit was wild. Play this.
Von, if he actually did the murder, with Durk butting in, saying that Von beat it because he didn't do it.
You gonna beat it. You gonna beat it if
he's
you
like trying to help him.
Yeah.
Von would go on to say that he can't get a normal job in Chicago because he's done so much dirt in the streets that if he was seen working a normal job, he would probably be killed on sight.
It's like I can't work no job in Chicago. You see what I'm saying?
Why couldn't you work a job in Chicago?
I got a face card. Like, I can't.
Oh, I got you. People
like,
know you.
Say if I'm behind the counter at McDonald's, somebody coming out here do something crazy. You know?
Yeah.
Then at the end of the interview, as Von was explaining to Charlemagne that he had no plans after jail because he's got no experience doing anything, suddenly Durk begins to cough, seemingly giving Von an indication not to say anything incriminating about his former life as a killer.
What other plans did you have other than rap?
I ain't had no plan. That's the thing. Like, you get out, you got a lot of shit on your mind, so you getting that. What to do. It's like, back to the streets.
Mm-hmm. Have you
no experiences doing nothing. I ain't, you know?
He's like, come on. Stop.
Word.
That's good.
This interview
It's just the little moments, you know? But people don't clock that kind of stuff. But that interview is so creepy when you think about it because no one knew what Von was about back then. Charlemagne's got no idea what he's really dealing with. But when you look closely at what's going on and the dynamic, you can see it's deeper than is on the surface, you know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's because, again, the crazy thing about his story is that he didn't even want to be a rapper.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, oh, this is business friendly to do this while I'm doing this. Actually, Alessi, can you go back to like 30 seconds? I think what would be good for people, we're going to put the link to this full 3.5 hour incredible documentary in the description. So I want you guys to all watch it. But if you can go back to the very beginning to 30 seconds, Alessi, like, all the way. Yeah, exactly. Like after the Patreon thing, let's just watch the intro so that people can get a feel for this, for how you put this together. Go a little more. Right there is perfect.
I've got to go hard on the disclaimer nowadays.
All right, let's roll it.
Camera, which I could never show you on YouTube. But if you don't want any of that, just sit back, enjoy the video, and hit that subscribe button. Ever since the 1980s, gangster rap has been one of hip-hop's most fascinating subgenres. From the mean streets of gang-infested Los Angeles that were brought to life by early gangster rap pioneers like Ice Cube and NWA, to Tupac and Suge Knight taking over the music game with vivid tales of gang-affiliated rappers who would bully their way into the music industry. And then you have legends like Jay-Z and 50 over. For decades now, rap fans have been looking for the realest artists, whose lyrics paint the picture of a real life of crime that isn't embellished or fabricated. But when it comes to rappers who truly keep it real, the Chicago drill scene has dominated for the last decade. First popularized by Chief Keef, the Chicago drill wave was characterized by rappers that grew up in the most dangerous blocks in America, with these up-and-coming artists rapping plainly and honestly about what they experienced growing up. Shootings on the block, disrespecting dead enemies, and constantly being chased by the police. Chicago drill rappers took gangster rap to raw new heights, where the stories behind the music could be matched up with the local news reports on the latest homicides. However, what happens when the people doing the killing start making the music too? Because in the years after Chief Keef popularized the violent stories of Chicago gang life, one of those gangsters killing people in the streets picked up a microphone too, and started rapping in the first person from the perspective of the actual killer. King Von had a reputation in Chicago as a fearless killer before he'd even started.
The tweets are
rapping.
insane.
And it's widely believed, based on the statements he made in his own songs,
I think that's the craziest thing about the whole story.
Could have killed as many as 7 people in his career as a gangbanger, with more murders even taking place after he got rich and famous, with it being rumored that Von used his money and influence from the rap game to have old enemies in Chicago killed, and going on a journey which, in my opinion, takes him far beyond a street player who had to kill to survive in the mean streets of Chicago, because if King Von's tweets are anything to go by, he simply loved killing people. And the sheer amount of people that King Von allegedly played a role in killing has led to intense speculation as to whether he was a full-blown serial killer, a title which King Von's enemies even said that him and his friends took personal pride in. Now, the FBI defines a serial killer as a person who kills over 3 people with time spans in between them of more than a month. Furthermore, serial killers tend to have an element of psychological gratification, which plays a role in the motive for their murders. The FBI also state that a serial killer might seek various kinds of gratification through their killings, such as anger, thrill-seeking, financial gain, or simply for attention. I personally believe that over the course of his career, King Von demonstrated all of these characteristics and can indeed be classified as a serial killer. King Von frequently exhibited behavior in public that conformed with these rules, tweeting regularly about his desire to kill, bragging about having committed specific murders in his music, which attracted him international attention and Billboard charting songs, with his drill anthems about murdering rivals making him a rich man with millions in his bank account. The FBI also point out another characteristic of serial killers, specifically that their victims may all have something in common. For example, a demographic profile, appearance, gender, or race. And it would appear that King Von only killed young black men and women from the community he lived in.
You said this was like Jeffrey Dahmer.
That's the point I'm trying to make. When I was after I made it, I really wish I'd thought of this before, because people have been saying a lot of people compared him to like the Zodiac Killer.
Yeah.
Because it's like how the Zodiac Killer left letters and clues and writing and stuff, right? It's like the whole thing I say with Von is like, he left so many clues. He really wanted people to know that he was doing this stuff, and he would leave clues in his music, in his tweets. And it's like, again, I didn't think of it when I was writing the documentary, but it was only afterwards that a lot of people were like, oh, I see, he's like the Zodiac Killer. Kind of wish I'd had that in there, because I feel like a lot of people have come at me with the whole, oh, he's not a serial killer thing. Like a lot of people, they try and hit me with like, oh, he wasn't a serial killer, he was just a gangbanger. And it's like, he went beyond that. And as I just break it down there, it's like there was an element of like personal gratification and thrill seeking to his behavior, and he continued doing that after he became a millionaire. And I think it's like if he'd have killed those 7 people and never got famous and rapped about it and left clues and kept trying to have people killed, I would have, you could have called him a gang assassin. But I think it was more about the psychological element where he wanted everyone to know what he'd done. He wanted to put it out there, and he wanted to have it hidden in all these songs. Like there was like a thrill-seeking element where he got off on wanting people to know what he'd done, in the way I feel.
Outside of the fact we already laid out that he grew up in tough circumstances, what do we know about his childhood? Like, what was his home life like, and how did King Von become, before he was King Von, like the 18-year-old King Von, where he was first like getting arrested for serious shit when he was 17, 18 years old?
Yeah, I talk about this in the doc. So I basically break it down that like he had a very tough upbringing. His father was killed he was shot dead by a sniper. When Von was 11. And so that's how serious it got in Chicago, where before they knocked down the projects in the 80s, they would have these big buildings, like, the Calumet building, Robert Taylor Homes, these famous projects, and each block was controlled by a different gang, right? So you might have the Black Disciples Stronghold block, and on the top of that project building would be snipers looking out for rivals, or even the cops. So that's how grimy and serious the Chicago streets were in the 80s. That's the era that his father was a guy called Silk. And he ended up when Von was 11, he ended up getting shot by a sniper in one of these buildings. So that's what he's growing up around. And again, I say it in the video, I say, look, I got sympathy for Von, because you're growing up, you're 11 and your dad's getting killed by a sniper. That's different. That's what creates a demon, right? And he's got a song called Demon where he raps that his friend White, I think it was his 17th or 18th birthday, his friend White had bought him a pill for his birthday, and Von goes into a convenience store and he comes back out and White's been killed on the street, right? There's another guy called 50 Shots who did it. But Von says in his song Demon, it was like when he came out of that store and saw what his big homie White killed, that's what turned him into a demon. And he says seeing his best friend, seeing his friend laid out like that is what turned him into a demon and made him want to start killing people and catching bodies. So again, I have sympathy, and he's a victim of his circumstances in a lot of ways. But unfortunately, he became very good at killing people. Yes. He became very good at getting away with it. And then he became very good at rapping. And like I say, Von was a one of a kind. There was never anyone like him. I don't think there ever will be anyone like him in hip hop ever again.
I hope not.
Yeah.
I mean, in all seriousness. But you had the pictures there at the beginning of the potential, I think it was 10 or 11 people that he was tied to. When was, I guess the question is, when was the first time he allegedly killed, and how good is the evidence for us to be confident that he had something to do with it?
Yeah, so I get involved in every one of those cases in the video and kind of break each one down specifically. It's 2011 when his friend White got killed, as he says, that turned him into a demon. From what I understand, the murder started in 2012. I think it was 4 or 5 murders in 2012, sort of back to back. Once he got involved in the streets, he got involved very deeply. His best friend T-Roy was kind of the most known shooter for O-Block in that area that he was from. That was his best friend who kind of taught him to navigate the streets. I just did a kind of short video, well, short for me, but like a video breaking down the history of T-Roy. So King Von's best friend and they say it was, 9 or 10 murders that he was involved in. So I just did a little video about that, about T-Roy's history, the guy that sort of taught Von how to navigate the streets. But so it would have been 2012. There was sort of like a few murders back to back. Von ends up getting put in jail for a period of time between 2012 and 2014. And then when he comes back, he hits the streets running again. I think there's 3 more murders at that point for a total of 7. He ends up going inside for the Malcolm Stuckey murder, which is the one I just talked about with Big Mike, 2014. He's awaiting trial between 2014. He goes to trial, ends up beating that case based on the situation where Big Mike said that he'd shot and Von didn't say anything. So Von beats that case. I think December 2017 he gets out, and he, it's in the documentary. He famously says he was friends with Lil Durk. Durk's neighborhood, Lamron, was a sort of Black Disciple neighborhood that was friendly with Von's neighborhood of O-Block. They were quite close to each other. And when Von came out, he said he was just trying to hang out with Durk and rob rappers. He wasn't trying to be a rapper. He was trying to rob the rappers and hang around Durk and use that to kind of infiltrate the rap game to just rob people. That was Von's idea. And it's only he ends up getting thrown in the studio with THF Bezu, who was another one of Durk's friends who also beat a murder case. And, that's how the career kind of started. Durk put, Von and Bezu in the studio together to make a song called Beat That Body. They had both just beat bodies. They'd both beat murder charges. And that song was, super viral and kind of one of the first introductions of Von as a rapper. And clearly he had a talent for it right away.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, he was good. But, like, what had he rapped at all, like, when he was, like, 16, 17? Like, just in his house? Did he ever talk about this? Or
So... He
had
didn't.
natural talent.
No, but the funny thing is, so around 2012, that's when Von's catching his first bodies. And that's when Chief Keef is releasing his first songs and becoming really famous. So Von, during that time, he would often tweet lyrics that Chief Keef was rapping about the streets. And Von would tweet, I'm the real guy doing the stuff Chief Keef's rapping about. So when Chief Keef was talking about O-Block, bang, bang, we'll catch the ops, we'll do this and that, we're smoking this and that person, Von was actually doing that stuff. So Von and T-Roy and the people they were rolling around with were the catalyst for what was going on in that hood in O-Block that Chief Keef was rapping about. But I think Von took a lot of pride in being the real guy that was doing the stuff that was in the music, right? Like, I think Von... he tweeted it a lot, right? He was like, I'm the real deal. Like, I'm out catching the stuff Sosa's rapping about. That's me. I'm really doing it. And Von even had tweets where he said, Von was so deep in the streets where he would tweet, if you catch me rapping about this stuff, kill me. Like, there's old tweets of Von saying, if I start being a rapper, I need to get my head checked. Like, check me if I start rapping. And then later he starts rapping. No one's checking Von ever, but you know what I'm saying? It's like later on when he actually decided to start rapping, like he's got tweets where he's like, I ain't a rapper. I'm just using rap to make money. I'm a street guy. I ain't into this rap stuff. But that's the ironic thing is, I've said this before, is like, it's actually a crazy coincidence that Von had so much talent for both killing people and rapping. Yeah. He was actually good at both of them things.
That's one way to put it. I mean, he, obviously there was just something very natural there for him to do it. But, the Durk thing also is interesting because Durk's career is fascinating in the sense that he had a little blow up when he was like, in 2012, 2013, like, oh, he's going to become a thing, gets signed to one of the major labels. I forget which one. You said it might have been Def Jam. Will you check that?
I think it might have been. I think that was the deal that he was trying to get out of. But I don't want to get it wrong, but but he had a deal.
Whoever it was, essentially, he was coming up during the Chief Keef time out of the same neighborhood, so he was doing drill rap. That's why he was good. Goes to a label. They try to be like, oh, no, you're going to do like this fun little old school rap songs, and it wasn't good. Deal runs out. He's not even selling like 2,000 units on a drop. Like he was left for dead.
He was down bad, man. Durk was down bad. With the fake relationship with Dej Loaf. Like they were trying anything to get Durk moving back then.
Yeah. So then he comes back. He's on his own. No one signs him, and he's like, "Fuck it. I'm gonna go back to what I know." This is the era where King Von comes up. That also helps him because then King Von obviously like kind of blows up because of his notoriety, and one of the things that's followed around Durk is this whole Von thing where there's all kinds of rumors with Durk being involved in the same in the same world that he was, I should say. And they had a case together, I think in 2018 or 2019 where they were exonerated
19, I think,
and not charged.
Well,
but
kinda.
But all right, what do you say kinda?
Well, this has always been a big rumor, right? They said at the time that they had there's 4 guys in a car, right, in Atlanta, and someone ends up getting robbed of $20,000 and shot in the leg. And the police are saying they got Durk on camera shooting out of the car, and they got someone else running around on their feet shooting. And, Durk and Von caught that case. They were famously in court together on TV, footage of them in court together in the jumpsuits that was super viral. And Durk and Von weren't allowed to associate with each other after that. So 2019, Durk's kind of put Von on in the industry. They've caught this case together, and they can't even associate with each other.
But they were still doing songs together.
Well, that's the thing. They're doing songs together, but they can't meet up. But there's a few IG lives where you can kind of see that they probably were maybe spending a bit of time together when they shouldn't have been. But anyway, what ends up happening is that case, Von gets killed. That case ends up getting dropped against Durk. And a lot of people have spread this rumor that Durk snitched on Von while he was alive or after he was dead. But when Von died, the case disappeared. And one of the other guys that was in the car was also killed randomly. Now, if you want to be conspiracy theory about that, whatever you want. But one of the guys that was in the car when they end up catching that case got killed in Miami on a random fluky other situation. Other guys, Bezos, obviously a really close friend of Durk's, and Von, who ends up dying, and the case gets dropped. So some people said that, there's been this rumor, and I don't think this is true for the record, but there's been this rumor that people said that song, Why He Told, that Von wrote about snitches, that was about Big Mike. Some people said, oh, that song's really about Durk, because behind the scenes, Durk was finna snitch on Von. Now, anyone that knows Durk ain't snitching on anyone. No one hates rats more than Durk. So I'd say that story's got to be capped.
They also try to, there's rumors out there, and I think they're bullshit, but they try to say like Durk was behind Von being killed.
They say Durk sacrificed Von, or Durk
like,
got rid of Von to make that case go away. Anyone that knows those guys and their relationship, that's obviously never going to be true. Like they were brothers, really. Like they were like brothers.
I think, and I don't know Durk at all. My cousin Matt did live with him for a while back in 2021 doing work for him, and then lived with Moneybag Yo doing work for him afterwards. So he had an amazing experience with Durk, and they just thought he was such a fucking good guy. But from the outside looking in, I want to be careful how I say this, but it seems to me like in a way King Von dying, we'll talk about it, but obviously he was killed, died on the streets that he kind of lived on. I think that was probably like a blessing in disguise for Durk, because they're being around him and having that re-blow up start to happen when Von came on and Von's doing all the things he was doing, it pulls you into that world that you're, again, we talked about earlier, that you're like trying to leave, and like there's a party that never leaves that, but if you're too much in it, then you actually become involved in it. And what it has seemed like to me since then, again, completely from the outside here, so take it with a grain of salt, is that Durk has now kind of removed himself from that in so many ways and is focused on the music. And 2021, 2022 were great years for him as far as it goes. I mean, that Lil Baby album, the one they did together, The Voice of Heroes, was fucking incredible. But like, it's weird to think about, because it's like a friend of his that died, but his friend was kind of a scumbag. Like, let's call it what it is. He was a total scumbag.
Von was a blessing and a curse for Durk, man, because it's like Von brought that street energy back to Durk when Durk was kind of going mainstream commercial. It wasn't really working for him. Von really brought that gangster energy back around Durk's music, and Durk was able to use his talent, because Durk is incredibly talented with the singing, with the way that he creates melodies and sort of uses the auto-tune, but to also talk about the gangster stuff and the pain music. I feel like Von brought that street credibility back to Durk, even though Durk had been certified from way back. But also, he brought that street energy around Durk's personal life, because they're catching cases together and creating legal trouble, and Durk's having to go and turn himself in. Right. So it seemed like it was a real gift and a curse for Durk. The whole sacrifice storyline that people say about Durk and Von is kind of messed up. That's bullshit. Obviously bullshit. But at the same time, it's like, it does make you wonder, if Von was still alive, he probably would be the kingpin of the FBG Duck hit, and he'd be on the RICO case with all of those guys.
What happened there?
Well, FBG Duck got killed. 5 guys from O Block, 6 guys affiliated with O Block end up going down for the murder, but it's in the legal paperwork that King Von might have put a 100K hit on Duck. He was the ringleader of the thing, but he was dead by the time that the charges actually dropped. But if Von was alive, there's no thing. Maybe they could have tried to wrap Durk up in the thing, because the thing is, Durk was unfortunately hanging around with a lot of those guys that were the killers after it happened. There's shots of Muwop on Lil Durk's jet, and they're hanging out together on the plane after the Duck murder. After the Duck murder, but before the charges dropped, right? So they could have tried to wrap Durk up in it. Had they arrested Von is the last person you would think would snitch on anybody. But had they arrested Von and maybe more people around the situation, I don't know, maybe they could have flipped some people, tried to drag Durk into it. It could have been bad. So it's, I think it would be wrong to say like, oh, Von dying was a great thing for Durk. But I think, the way that everything played out in the end, I think, as sad as it is, I think Durk probably got some benefits of the fact that Von was really out there moving wild, and had they ended up arresting Von and he'd been still alive and he'd have been on that case, I think that would have had a big repercussion for Durk, and it would have been difficult. So it's messed up, but the way that Von was living and the way that he was bringing that gangster killer energy to the industry, unfortunately that's how he ended up losing his life. Right. And I don't think that you can survive long term if that's how you're moving. If you're running around having fist fights with people who are real gangsters, like people want to say what they want about Quando Rondo, he's really certified in Savannah, and that guy Lil Tim who ended up shooting Von, I did a documentary about them.
What happened with Von's death? Like who? So Lil Tim shot him, but what was the official story there?
Well, Von had been going back and forth with NBA Youngboy. They'd kind of had a beef. You know, Von was trying
That
to
was
bring
over a woman, right?
over a woman, but I think that was just Von was just trying to press Youngboy's buttons by getting his baby mama in a studio session. I think Von was really trying to have a hip hop beef. I think Von felt like Youngboy was the hottest guy because you got to remember in that period of time, we're talking like August, September 2020. That's when Youngboy was on top. Youngboy had, I think, 3 #1 albums and 1 #2 album.
Yeah, he was
huge in a like an 18-month period. So he was biggest out when it came to street stuff. Von, I felt, saw Youngboy as a target as far as like, I'm really street, I'm really killing people and getting away with it. You're fake. So Youngboy, Von famously came out and said Youngboy's cap, his raps are fake, it's bullshit. He took aim at Youngboy. So they started beefing. They were having this little back and forth online. Von's popping up with Youngboy's ex. Youngboy's popping up with Von's ex. They're going back and forth using women as kind of a toy. But Quando was signed to Youngboy. So King Von caught Quando Rondo outside this nightclub. And if you know, I've seen the surveillance footage. It's floating around out there a lot. You know, Von basically just seen Quando. He'd had a whole beef. They're friends with Youngboy. Just start swinging on him. And he didn't count on the fact that Quando's guy, Lil Tim, who I did a video about him, he's a serious guy. He's like King Von in Savannah, right? So
Quando didn't even know it was King Von swinging on him at first, right?
And when you watch the footage, King Von just basically just runs out, starts swinging on Quando. There's ain't even a second to think about that shit. Tim probably didn't even know. He said it in songs that he didn't even know who he was shooting. He didn't know anything about these guys. He just saw somebody beating up his guy, the boss of his thing. You know, Quando's like Quando's entourage, you know, they're all affiliated with the Rolling 60s Crips in Savannah. So they're on some street gangster stuff.
Nice.
Lil Tim was just ready to roll. He didn't know anything. You're beating up the boss man. Like,
yeah, wasn't he? Didn't he get like the stand your ground law or something?
Yeah, Lil Tim beat the charges.
Yeah,
and not only that, but after all the bullets started flying, King Von's guys pulled out a gun and tried to shoot Tim, but the gun jammed. So they're on camera trying to shoot them. So the whole self-defense case was cut and dry in the end.
Oh my God.
You know, so and that's unfortunate because to think for all the stuff that Von was involved in, and he was a killer and he was kind of getting away with everything in the streets, it ended up being a fluky situation that wasn't involved with his gang war. It wasn't revenge for any of the people he'd been killed. He was trying to have a fight in the industry, and he didn't bank on the fact that the industry guy he punched had real shooters behind him. Honestly, that's one of the craziest situations. I think the whole Von situation, it's like Von and Durk and Youngboy and Quando, their whole beef, that's like the Tupac and Biggie of this generation to me.
Wow, that's a heavy statement. Yeah,
for sure.
That shit was crazy. That was the stuff I studied a lot growing up. That shit was gang stuff behind that. But, you know, how long did you spend researching this video?
Probably 3 months. Probably
that's
full 3
actually
months.
faster than I would have thought.
Probably like
holy shit.
Yeah, December 22 to like January to like probably like February, March 23. And then it dropped in April. So it probably took about a month and 6 weeks to edit.
Got it.
Probably 3 months of research.
Okay. So did you get backlash for this? Because like the claim itself, like you're not just saying, as you pointed out earlier, oh, he was a gangbanger, he was killing people for that. You're like, you're defining it right at the beginning. No. I think he was a literal serial killer. Like he, you know, got off on this shit and targeted people. What kind of backlash did you get for that?
Yeah, I got a lot, man. People were saying I was racist. People were saying that, you know, they were going to kill me, all that kind of thing. Because I think the thing a lot of people have put to me, and I get where they're coming from, but it's like they're not really listening to what I'm saying, is they say, well, you're trying to vilify like a black guy that came from the hood that was in a kill or be killed situation. You're trying to put this horrible serial killer jacket on him when really he was just trying to defend his life in his hood. That's cool. That's fair enough. But I'm making the argument that the reason Von is different was because he got off on it so much. He wanted the world to know about it. He was leaving clues. He was leaving songs. And the average guy that's in the hood that's defending himself and defending him and his family's life is on some completely different shit to Von.
Yeah.
So I get that. I'm not trying to put the serial killer jacket on everybody that's ever been in a gang and has had to defend themselves. I'm just putting it on this one guy that made a bunch of songs about the bodies he had and kept trying to have people killed when he was famous. So if you get that through your head, you get that I'm not trying to put anyone down because of their circumstances or anything like that. Von was really out here doing this stuff and rapping about it, and I feel like it's so I got a lot of hate on that front. I also got a lot of hate just from people connected to Von. You know, his
who?
Well, Von's cousin was very upset. He tried to get the video taken down a few times.
Wasn't the video taken down at one point?
Yeah, he got the video taken down a few times, and they got it back up on Patreon, and then I had to re-edit it. I had to blur out anything, blur all the guns, all the joints, all the swearing, everything. And it managed to stay up again after that.
Wait, so question on that, just behind the scenes. When you say re-edit it, is it the original file, and you go
no,
use tools? You had to upload
this
a
is
whole
a
brand new
re-upload.
one.
Yeah. So the original version I actually uploaded got taken down to like 700K or something.
Okay,
So
and
this is the
one has
re-upload.
10 or 11.
I've
now.
I've done re-uploads before. I've never seen a re-upload do better than the first upload, but this one was different.
Yeah.
It was crazy because it went up, people were talking about it, and then it went down, no one could watch it. So everyone was talking about this crazy documentary, but it wasn't up for a few days. This was all on like Easter, so it was last year in Easter, it was the Easter weekend. So I was trying to get help from YouTube. I was like, they're taking my video down, people are flagging this video, no one would help me, so I had to take it down, re-upload it, re-edit it. I spent the whole day editing all the... See there, we got this image of KI, we're holding the gun, right? I never used to have to do that, but because they kept demonetizing, they kept flagging the video, kept getting it taken down, I had to go to town and blur everything. And I do that now, but I just had a video taken demonetized yesterday.
Like just yellow or full demonetized?
This one was just yellow.
But that's still, you make long, I know I speak your language,
You know what
with
I mean?
long content. When you make long content and it gets demonetized, you're fucked.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. It's like it really threatens the business model. So the way that I do it is like when that happens, I take the video down and try and find out what's going on. But it's messed up because they're saying the video's got swearing in it and it doesn't.
It sucks. I mean, and if you don't know little nuances or whatever, like 2 years ago, I had Meek Mill and Bill Cosby's lawyer in for a podcast, which is a wild podcast.
That's wild. Yeah, hell yeah.
And no one's ever seen it because in the montage I made at the beginning, he said the R word like 8 seconds in, and so it got the yellow signal. It's a 3-hour video. It went from doing whatever views it was doing an hour, like a day into the video or whatever it was when they demonetized it, to like 1.
It's a mess.
God,
and they be doing all sorts of fluky stuff that's like beyond what they even say. Like I had a video, my Eminem and Kim. I did a video about the whole history of Eminem and Kim and their toxic relationship.
Oh, yeah.
How it inspired a lot of his music. And obviously she's got a history of self-harm and she tried to kill herself a few times. And, you know, it's a 2.5-hour video. That's like such a minor part of it. But they didn't demonetize it, but it got a suicide warning put on it. And the views just tanked.
I was going to say,
CPM
that keeps it out.
That's the crazy thing is that it says it's monetized, but it's the way it behaves in the back end is like a demonetized video. You see the CPM day one, it's just
That's
like...
right.
So it's crazy how they lie to you and say videos are monetized, and then they do stuff like that.
Yeah, I just wish it was like more transparent, and I wish like you had reps there who actually you could have a real conversation with to plan out content correctly.
Yeah,
follow the rules.
It's like why I hate that they had to have this whole system where it's just like you just got to do guesswork and just guess what they're going to like. It's like just tell me what I'm allowed to do and I won't do it. If there was a rule, this is the thing they're so shady with it. If there was a rule that was just like you can't talk about suicide ever, like. It's just crazy because it's like that video, the Eminem one, is like that's such a footnote on what the story's about that she tried to kill herself at the end.
2.5 hour video. It's like one part.
And it's like that's a minor thing, but there's no rule. There's no in communication. And again, I love being a YouTube creator. I love YouTube. I love the platform. On the whole, I think it's just amazing. I'm so grateful that they give me this opportunity to do this. But it'd just be great if they were just a little bit more transparent with just what you're allowed. Because if they just said, look, these are the things, don't even bother making a video on certain topics. Right. Like. That'd be great. You know, I just wouldn't do that. But it's the guessing, and it's like, I've got a video and now it's demonetized and they won't tell me why. And it's like, oh, we're not going to tell you why. What's wrong with it? And it's like, well, I blurred all the guns. I took out all the swearing. I don't mention suicide. Like, what's actually wrong with this? And it's like, we're not going to tell you. Like, if it was TV, they would just tell you, like, you can't, you know, these are the words you can't say on TV. These are the things you can't put out in your video. Great, I won't do those things. But
isn't it weird though how we're in this internet age where literally like a fucking 8-year-old can go find a murder video if they wanted to? I hope they're not doing that, by the way. But like everything's out there, but then like a platform that exists on the same internet, I'm not even talking about the dark web, just like regular shit, you know, a platform like YouTube is out there, and because it's a publicly traded company that has to answer to some stock traders or whatever, you know, they have to like put these. And I empathize with it. Like, it kind of sucks. Like, they have to put some of these bars around how they litigate what can and can't go, when it's like, you know, I always use the example, The Sopranos came out fucking 25 years ago, man. You know, and that wasn't even on the internet. That was on HBO. But they said, yo, TV, but you can say fuck, shit, and whatever you want, right? And now the internet was like that on steroids. And yet we still live in this world where on the actual TV, which no one watches, they still can't say fuck. And then on the internet where there's things that are monetized, like on YouTube or whatever, you know, if you do certain things like sometimes as simple as saying fuck in the first 30 seconds or something, it's like, oh, no, that can't be monetized either. Like, what do we think these brands are? All these people are saying this stuff. We're all looking at this stuff. It's an open world. Like, what are we doing?
You know what's stupid? I just feel like they should just censor our videos. They should just say it with their chest and just censor our videos. If you don't want fuck in the first 30 seconds, they have systems to just flag that. Because the word fuck comes up in the auto-generated subtitles. So they know the fuck's there. They can blur the fuck. If you don't want just blur the fuck, let me keep monetizing. But it's this weird system. It's almost like they get off on punishing you. Yeah. It's like, yeah, you're demonetized. You said fuck in the first 30 seconds. Right. We could just censor that fuck and keep you monetizing. But fuck you.
Yep.
You know, your 4-hour documentary said fuck one time. No money.
You're out.
No money.
You're
for
gone.
You. What like even the thing with the guns, it's like, you know, you can't have guns, you can have guns, depends what environment you're showing them in. Just they need to just have it so it automatically blurs the guns. This is why the copyright thing's such bullshit, right? Oh, you've used 10 seconds of a song, all of your money's going to some record label, and like you want to take the song out of your video, sure, just press a button and just trim it out. But like what I have to check my YouTube every day to make sure I haven't had a bullshit claim. Why can't they just have it? If a song's in there, the song's not allowed to be in there, just take it out. Don't even tell me about it.
Yeah, easy.
Just like they have the technology to do that, but it's like
maybe it's coming.
Why not? Like I hope not. I hope like if I can't use music, they just should have it set up. They should just have it set up so that if I can't say a certain word, it just mutes. Just mute it when I say that word. Like it's all this you've got to be on the back foot constantly checking your content. Like I've just had a video demonetized and it's like it's a 4-hour video. We went through it. There's no swearing, there's no guns, there's no knives, there's nothing. And they won't tell me. So it's like
crazy.
I've got to watch this 4-hour video through again, try and find maybe there's one gun that I forgot to blur and I'm going to have to re-upload it with 0 views again. Like how's that good for anyone?
Because there's so much, that's the thing. You have to put so much work into making the video and doing stuff and whatever, but then all the quality control, that's the worst part. I mean, I put out 2 episodes a week. I mean, he knows like the day before the episode's a fucking 14 to 16 hour day. And a lot of it is spent on quality control. I go in there, I have to, on just the YouTube version, not the Spotify version, but I have to go blur out curse words in the first 20 minutes, you know, and then I got to go through and check questionable areas to see if I have to blur something there. You know, and I live on stress of it because people like you take time out of their life and their day, sometimes from across the pond, to be here. And it's like, when something gets demonetized, I take that personally, not just because like it's not good for me, but like
no one's gonna view it.
That's what I'm saying. Someone comes in here, they spill their guts, whatever it is, then they don't get the proper attention that they should get for it. I just actually had that happen on a video with someone who did that, and it's like it's so annoying, you know. But to your point, like they have the tools. Come on, YouTube, like let's make this a little easier for creators.
That's what makes no sense, because it's like, well, if you don't want swearing on your platform, just have it so that if anyone says we just can't hear it. Just mute it. Just have you like this. They want to act like there's no rules. It's okay. We're not censoring you. But here's some guidelines where if you do any of the shit, you can't make any money. We're not censoring you. It's
not censoring. It's just no money.
We'd never tell you what you can and can't say. We just take away your money if you say something we don't like, and you have to work it out on your own. So it's a bit messed up. But at the same time, in spite of all of that, the headaches that come with it, I'm so grateful for YouTube as a platform. I'm so grateful to be a YouTuber.
I am too.
I love it. It's just the some of the rules. I just wish it was a little more clear. Because this is my thing with YouTube. It's like, I want to follow all the rules. Just make the rules easier and clearer to understand, and I'll follow all of them. Like, I'm a good boy, YouTube. Like, whatever you want. No guns. We're gonna blur the guns. But it's this thing of just like, oh, well, it's gangster content. Well, there's loads of, like, who says we can't talk about gangs and the music and these things? Billboard charting songs. Just make it clear. If it's no guns, we won't have any guns. If I can't have the N-word in the video, I'm going to have an IG live of 2 guys going back and forth and they're saying the N-word every other word. We're going to mute the N-word every single time that happens. Just let us slide. We're just trying to communicate some information here.
Have you talked to Brandon or Tommy about this at all?
I think we touched on it a bit. I was talking to Brandon. He was telling me about some demonetizations, but like,
yeah, I know.
It's hard.
I didn't talk with Brandon about this as much off camera, but he and Tommy are really close. So I think they're in a similar spot. But like, you know, not like Tommy has it figured out. with what where and as you know, he does both of them do very edgy content as far as like, dangerous topics going into dangerous places. So maybe talk with them too, because they know that was actually, it was funny, before I ever knew Brandon, I figured out the problem with the Cosby video was the R word, because I didn't know that. And then I watched his Sneako video, and I saw every time in that 2.5 hour documentary that word was brought up, he bleeped it. And I was like, son of a bitch.
Well, putting Sneako anywhere is probably going to get you demonetized. So there's that too.
Yeah, that too. I actually think that documentary still did get demonetized no matter what, all the work he put in. But anyway, real quick, I just got to go to the bathroom. We'll be right back.
That's all good.
What's your favorite video you ever made? You made so many now.
One of my favorites was this London one I just made, but it's not there anymore. It's just got demonetized a couple of days ago, so I took it down, trying to get to the bottom of it. That was one of my favorites.
What was that about?
It was about this crew called Active Gang and a rapper called Suspect. So it is a UK kind of gangster rap story with a guy that basically stabbed 2 people, caught 2 murders, fled the country and hid out in Kenya. And while he was in Kenya, but while he was hiding out there, no one knew where he was. He kept releasing music, so he had body doubles in the UK, pretending to be him, trying to make out like he was still in the hood in the UK for like 18 months. And
what's his name?
Suspect.
Suspect. Can we pull him up? I want to see him. But go ahead.
Yeah. Like, he became really famous. He was sort of becoming like the King Von of the UK. If you type in Suspect AGB or Sus, this is the guy. So I did a big story about him. But anyway, he was hiding out in Kenya, became one of the biggest rappers in the UK. But in the end, he started posting his picture and his location and stuff started posting pictures of himself in the kitchen wherever he was hiding out. And people on Reddit started saying, I see that oven. That looks like my grandma's oven in Kenya. This looking Kenyan. And so they worked it out. And the craziest thing is Kenya, they got an extradition treaty with the UK. So once they located him, they brought him back. But the crazy thing is the murders him and his gang were involved in, there were 6 guys. So 2 of them tried to escape. They got caught in the UK, got life. 2 of them, Suspect and another guy, went to Kenya. They hid out for nearly 2 years. Then they got caught. But another 2 guys, they went to Somalia and never been seen again, and they got away with it. So they all went different places and got treated a different way, but there's no extradition with Somalia. You disappear into Somalia, you're gone.
You're done.
So they made it out, but Suspect got super famous, but ended up giving away that he was in Kenya, and they got him back. The crazy story. But I did a 4-hour documentary on this. Did that in February, but it just got demonetized like a couple of days ago. So it's I'm taking it down while I try and resolve that. The thing is, we've censored everything. The thing they sent us said swearing and violence, but there's no swearing in the video. We took out all the swearing. We took out all the violence.
That's
I took out even the descriptions of violence. In the Patreon version of the video, I explain in a lot of detail how the incidents where people got killed played out. I removed all of that for YouTube, and it still hit me. But it's like a month on.
It's crazy that you can have a video up for a while, get it demonetized, take it down, and it still does amazing, because that's how good they are.
Well, I hope so with this one. I'm hoping I don't have to re-upload, because the thing is, sometimes I get hit with it a lot, and sometimes YouTube are kind of reasonable and they'll look a bit closer and they'll be like, yeah, this was a mistake. A shout out to YouTube, but like I've had a couple mistakes. I've got demonetized by mistake, and I talk to them, and eventually, quite often, they'll be like, okay. Like I had my Rollo documentary called Mr. Dog Food, which is about, he was one of the biggest drug dealers in Atlanta at the time, Rollo, who was also rapping about everything that he was doing, and he ends up getting caught. But that video has been demonetized a bunch of times, but it's not even any violence. He was a drug dealer that got caught, and must have been demonetized 4 or 5 times. But every time I speak to YouTube, I'm like, hey, this happened again. Like, there's nothing with this video is super clean, and to their credit, they've given it back. So they be making mistakes, and sometimes they're very reasonable about it. But I'm kind of sad, because I would have said that was probably one of my favorite documentaries. It's on my Patreon, so if anyone wants to go, patreon.com/TrapeLawRoss, you can watch that all uncut. You can find out all the deep, dark history. And to be fair, on my Clips channel, I upload the different chapters from the videos on my Clips channel. So you can, if you want to learn about Suspect, go on my Trap Law Clips, and you can learn all the little pieces from that documentary. But hopefully I'll get that full doc back together, because that's what I'm most proud of, the full 4-hour feature documentary about this topic, where you're going to learn everything. Like,
it's your masterpiece.
Like, yeah, to lose that, it kind of sucks, to be honest.
Do you have, like, with stories like that, like we were talking about your research earlier, but do you have inside sources too?
No.
Like, you don't get access to any, you do this purely from the outside?
I don't want inside sources. People always hit me up like, yo, I got secret info on this rapper, that rapper. I'm like, I do not want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. My thing is, I'm a researcher. I'm showing you, I'm trying to show you everything that's out there on a topic. I'm not trying to show you hidden info, or some guys told me that this guy shot. I'm just what's publicly out there. Anything you see me say is backed up by public sources. I'm not out here just making shit up or spreading rumors. I don't want inside sources. I'm a secondary source researcher. That's what I do.
Are you a journalist?
I'd say so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think that might change at some point? Because like you're entrenched now, like you're extremely well known. You're respected by. I mean, some people don't like the King Von's family or something. Of course, you're gonna have haters like that, but like you're respected among the industry as someone who knows what they're talking about with this stuff and is putting out stories that are again based on a lot of research and put together to present the facts. Like I'm sure, as you were saying, like people are hitting you up, and it's only gonna get more and more and more. Do you think is there something that would need to happen for you to change that stance?
No, I mean, for me, I like the way I go about things is like how I like to do things. Like I like to learn everything there is about a rapper. Like I'm gonna watch all of the King Von interviews. You know, that's what I'm gonna do. Like I like watching interviews with rappers. I actually don't want inside sources. Like, I see myself as a researcher and like a filmmaker. You know, a director. Like I'm focused on trying to make my videos look better and more detailed. I'm not focused on trying to get primary sources. And people always come at me and they're like, "Why aren't you in the streets interviewing people?" Like that's like what Tommy G and Brandon does,
Right.
and that's not really what I'm trying to do. I might go to a location and film a few shots and get a little bit of B-roll and get a little bit of ambience, but I'm not really trying to have sit downs with people and trying to do talking head interviews for my stuff. Like that's not my approach. My approach is I'm me as the central, I'm like a filter for the information. I'm going to learn everything about the topic and I'm going to show you what I think is relevant for you to understand and appreciate what's going on. Like with the Youngboy video, I feel like that was a thing of like, I was such a fan of Youngboy. I wanted to take everything about him and lay it out in a way that so that if you didn't like or if you didn't know anything about Youngboy, you could understand where he's coming from with all of his music. And I do that with the information. I don't want to be sat down doing interviews and shit.
So even when you're doing some of the videos that are just on, say, like gang wars and stuff like that, you're still doing it strictly from the outside.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I don't want inside info. And again, it's like, I feel like when people say I'm a snitch or that kind of thing.
Who says you're a snitch?
All the rappers said be saying I'm a snitch.
Why?
Because they think that what I'm doing is snitchy and I'm kind of telling on what they're up to. But but it's like,
guys, come on.
You know what it is? I feel like it's just like, it's a lot easier to say Ross is a snitch rather than to say it's dumb for rappers to be rapping about real crimes. It's the same with the Young Thug trial. People are talking about like, I released a video on Young Thug and his gang 6 months before he caught his case. When he caught his case, they were like, that's your fault. You aired out all of that stuff. But when you actually look at the indictment, they were surveilling his phone. They had the rental car somebody got shot in. They have so much more than the stuff I have. But at the same time, it's dumb that Young Thug has rapped about all these crimes so much in his songs. He's got this lyric where he raps, I shot at his mom, now he doesn't mention me anymore. Dude's mum really got shot. And that's out there. And so it's like to act like I'm a snitch when really I'm just reading Thug's lyrics and then looking up, did somebody's mum get shot? Sure enough, there's the newspaper article, there's the interview with somebody's mum getting shot saying them guys did it. It's there.
What do you think of this? Is a state by state legal argument that's been happening in the United States about the permissibility of song lyrics in trials? Because to be fair, there's a lot of guys who are studio gangsters, right? They rap about the things that are based on third-person experience or, you know, generally where they're from, but they rap about it maybe from first person and they weren't there, and then those words can be used against them. Obviously, it's been a big argument throughout this never-ending Young Thug trial or whatever. Like, do you think that they should be allowed to use lyrics against people?
Absolutely. This is one of those things. I know people are going to be pissed off with this one because it's not what you'd expect. Why not? Why can't you use lyrics? And here's the thing. This is the dumbest thing. The guys that are trying to say, oh, my music's art, you shouldn't be able to use it against me. They're the guys that are doing the most crimes and talking about it. Young Thug, I thought it was incredibly disingenuous when Young Thug came out with this movement of protect black art when he's getting arrested, being implicated in a murder, and he's saying, we need to protect black art, they're using this against me. I feel like that's a disservice to all of the great black artists who made art without doing crime.
See what
I'm
you're
saying?
Yeah.
So it's like Young Thug's on songs talking about I shot at his mum and now he doesn't mention me anymore, and he was actually having people's mothers shot, right? So
Allegedly. Free Thug.
Allegedly. Well, but then there's the lyric. There's the lyric. He's talking about I shot at his mum, he no longer mentions me. YFN Lucci's got a vlog where he's at his mum's house saying they shot at my mum's house. Here's the bullet holes. Could have
been someone else.
No, but here's the thing that people always use this example. They say, well, Bob Marley had I shot the sheriff.
I shot the sheriff.
And they don't use that against him because there wasn't a dead sheriff.
That's right.
But with the Young Thug thing, he's talking about I shot his mum and there's a bullet hole in somebody's mum's house. It's
But there's a
different
lot
story.
of moms out there. Of course, there's a dead mom somewhere. But like, there's fucking 340 million people in this country.
Well, listen, we know whose mum he was talking about. We knew exactly whose mum he was talking about.
How do
with
we
that
know?
Because because the mum's son is in a vlog over there pointing at the bullet hole saying they shot up my mama's house.
Yeah, but what if it was they like someone else?
This is the
There's
thing.
a lot of people trying to shoot.
We're doing mental gymnastics to try and protect a mum shooter.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
You know what
halfway
I'm saying?
joking, as you can tell. But still.
No, but this is how people get with it, where it's like, we got to protect the music. And it's like, if you're not really doing crime, the music doesn't need protecting. You're
That's
trying
fair.
to use the music and the art as a smokescreen for you to get away with crimes. Because realistically, this is the thing with Thug, right? People want to say protect him because of the music, because they like his music. But realistically, if he's out here arranging for people to get killed and having people's mothers
Yeah,
shot,
not good.
that's not cool. And then to try and use the music as a defense to be like, oh, you can't use my lyrics against you. Well, why were you rapping about shooting people's mothers if that was a real thing?
Yeah. Yeah, it's certainly it's gray area, but for some of the guys it's not, and I can see why prosecutions would want to use that. I think it's one of those things that can be a slippery slope because again, how do you make the determination which guys are real and which guys are just doing it for attention? Right, which isn't a crime to do that. You know, obviously, like it's disingenuous for sure, but it's not a crime to do that. But that case has been like never ending, man. I mean, holy shit, I've never seen something drag out so long.
It's complicated, man. There's a lot of people involved, you know, a lot of situations involved. They've been going back and forth. I mean, the main murder from that case, I think, was in 2015, right? So we're
Yeah,
dealing
that
with
was the rented car one.
Yeah, so we're dealing with a 9-year-old murder. But again, people been knowing about this. People been talking about this. There's a bunch of lyrics. You know, there's a bunch of stuff. Oh, and again, it's like, let's not use Thug's lyrics against him. Okay, well, we'll set aside the lyric. What about when his boys went to the dead guy's grave and sprayed slat on the headstone, right? That's not a lyric. But it's like, you want to try and get out of holding responsibility. Like Young Thug, if Young Thug really did pay for the murder to happen, and if Young Thug really did pay for the guy to shoot up the dude's mum's house, he should face justice for that. That's not cool.
Yeah.
This is the thing, is like,
Agreed.
I talk about a lot of this gangster stuff, but it's like, people trying to understand, it's like, I don't condone it. I don't think murder's cool. Like, people act like this is some shocking thing, but right? But if a rapper kills another rapper, that's not cool to me. I'm not a fan of murder.
Sure.
People act like I should be like, somehow it's like, you're a snitch. And it's like, bro, if someone shot at my mum in real life,
You'd be pissed.
best believe I'd be snitching.
Fuck yeah.
You know, it's this idea of people are a fan of a rapper and they feel like we just got to defend this guy to the end of the earth. And I love Young Thug's music, don't get me wrong. But if it transpires in the courtroom scenario that he really did pay for that murder to happen and for dude's mum to be shot, bro, he needs to be in jail. That's not cool.
Yeah.
And as sad as that is to say, people want to stick up for different people and protect the art.
No,
That's
it's a
all well and good.
perfectly
Protect the
fair
art,
point.
but don't protect the shooters.
That's right. It's a perfectly fair point, and I'll retweet that. I agree. I mean, we could joke about it and whatever, but you know, I thought some of that case seemed like when it was first coming out, some of it certainly seemed a little suspect, but like at the same time, you don't do yourself favors. Knowing what I know now, with some time pass, you don't do yourself favors when you take like the gang name and you literally put it in the studio too.
This is the funny thing, is it's like you got a lot of these gangster guys. Again, it's that thing of like, we got to protect the music. And it's like, you need to protect yourself from jumping in a vocal booth and talking about all the shit. Nobody made you talk about those crimes, right? I met a young drill rapper the other day and he played me a song and it was a fire song. But then there's a bit where they're talking about this guy that got killed and what they do to him. And I said to the dude, I was just kind of like, hey man, like, you ever think about taking that little bit out? Like,
what do you say? I know who you're talking about. So what do you say?
It was just talking about a murder that happened, you know, just rapping about a situation, a murder that happened, and they're making fun of it, and there's sort of a thing. It's come up in other songs, but it's like at the time I was just trying, and I'm trying to do that on some positive shit to say to the guy like,
yes,
yo, like, I love this. This is a fire song. Like, you're not going to hit Billboard with those little lyrics in there. You know what I mean? You're not going to hit the charts with, if you leave that little bit in there, I get. But again, it was like, I was trying to gain an understanding because he broke it down to me and he was like, yeah, but he was like, those guys, they're dissing my guy that's dead. I feel like I got to put this out there and say that. And I'm kind of saying to him, like, I was like, don't you feel like you're maybe bigger than that? Like, don't you feel like you don't need to diss.
He's a
They're
kid.
dissing your guy, but these are young guys, you know, and
He's a kid.
and it's like I'm not trying to tell him what to do, but I'm just trying to give him some advice. But then he's explaining to me why. Yeah, but this is why I feel like I got to diss these guys, and I got to say this, and I see where he's coming from. But it's like I'm just trying to give him that advice of like, in a couple of years' time, when you're a really big superstar, you might maybe think, oh, maybe I shouldn't have gone so hard on that stuff, because that, in the grand scheme of thing, all that street stuff is minor if you can become a superstar.
And this is where it gets odd, because I don't know him well, but I was hanging out around him like a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
He's a kid, the guy we're talking about.
Yeah.
And like when he's not in front of the mic, he's like the sweetest guy.
Yeah, no.
Like he's such a, but there's something where it's like, no, well, I have to turn into this character now in there. And again, he's rapping about some experiences too, but then it actually, like the mic becomes the streets, and then it transpires to the streets. And I kept looking at that because I'm like, he's got great talent and he's so young, and I was so stupid at that age too. And I'm just like, someone could slow him down, but you can't, like you said, you can do it. I think that's great that you were talking with him. That's awesome.
Well,
like,
it felt at the time like that's probably some energy that he's maybe not used to having around him, as far as like, and I'm not putting anyone down, but it's like when you got people around you and you're saying some crazy shit on a song, and then everyone's like gassing you up like, yeah, that's good.
Yep.
From where you're from, that might be normal, but it's almost like I just felt like, you know, this is an opportunity. It's like someone, you know, I'm older than him. Even just to say to him, like, bro, just want you to, I'm just letting you know, like, talking like this on this song, this song might go mainstream, but the way those little touches you put on there that's super violent, that might be a barrier to you going mainstream.
Or a problem down the road, like you said.
Yeah. And like, he might not have anyone in his ear saying that. So even just if that makes him think, like, maybe not this one, maybe down the line, he might reflect back on that and think like, hey, you know what, like, maybe I ain't gonna diss crazy on this song, because this song might be a hit. And like, you know, I just hope, you know,
Do you think some of it got a little through?
Maybe a little bit. I felt like it was a good conversation, but at the same time,
he didn't turn you off.
when he
I like
broke
that.
it down to me, I could understand where he's coming from.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking about the fact that last week they done some foul shit on a song against him, right? I'm just thinking, I'm here with him now. I'm thinking about his future. I'm not thinking about last week when they were saying some awful shit about someone that he lost, right? So it's different for him.
I like that he didn't shut you down. Be like, fuck you. I like that. That's a good sign.
Yeah,
well,
like it was like some real shit, man. It was like a real conversation, you know, and I feel like it was like we were both seeing where each other was coming from.
Yeah, and I know Brandon talked about this when he was in here on the podcast, but you know, he has a lot of these conversations with some of these guys in the places he goes to cover, and he's not afraid to at least bring it up, but you know, they're going to do what they're going to do. And sometimes the reaction is, the fuck do you know, white boy? Right? And that's just,
I get that.
That's, yeah.
And I get that too.
That's how it is, you know? But it's interesting that, like, someone like you can be a fan of this stuff and then make these videos and then get in the middle of these guys too and actually be there. Like, it's pretty cool, right? Being like in the studio when these guys are actually making the shit and you hear it before it's happening. No,
yeah. Well, that's why it's like I felt like almost like I had a responsibility of just like I'm hearing some shit that's foul and just trying to be like, I just want to let everyone know, like what you just said is crazy. That's normal to you, but like you just said some foul shit. So just making sure you guys are like cool with that. But at the same time, that's what they do. But it's just like I said this to people before. It's like the last thing I'd want to see is, you know, I meet a young guy that's coming up in the drill scene and he's got a lot of talent, and to hear something bad's happened to him. Like that would, you know, I'm seeing it as an opportunity of just a little positive influence into this space. Because I feel like people get it twisted. Like, I love the violence and I'm stoking the violence. Like,
that's good. You're
I would love for there not to be violence. I want to just see everyone make music.
Do you think there would be great music without that world, though?
100%. Because this is the thing. Everything is looked through this specific lens of gangster rap, drill music. And realistically, there's people making hit songs that maybe started on the gangster side of things, but then went mainstream and have done a commercially successful without having to do all of that violent stuff. So it just goes to show you there's all these different lanes that people could be taking, but it's just like, unfortunately, right now, there's a big spotlight on the gangster violent side of the music industry. And I think that for better or for worse, for whatever reason that is, people are just trying to understand why things are like that.
Well, we're looking at it from the angle of, you know, the gang side of it and all that, but the other side that still has to be put in here is that these guys are creatives too, right? They're artists. And like, you know, there's there's a realm of thinking that goes with that. And also when you know how personal the creative process is, you are as well. So like when you and I are creating stuff and doing edits, like we want it a certain way. I mean, I know Alessi sits there and he hears me say, I want it this way. He laughs his ass off, right? But that's just, you know, when he edits something, that's how he wants it his way too. It's a beautiful thing. But I think the bigger guys get too, there's that realm of like the barrier that can kind of come around them. And then you talk about like, can you really get through to someone? Can you really approach them and try to make them understand something when they're so in their world? And I mean, there's no better, I don't know if better is the word, but no more like extreme example of this than like Kanye West. Now, when you look at him, because obviously, you know, Kanye from a audio visual standpoint is an absolute genius. He's one of my favorite artists of all time. He's incredible. But he also, you know, he has some severe mental issues. I was at least happy to hear him finally like kind of admit out loud that he had autism, because that was always very obvious to me. But, you know, obviously he's done a lot of crazy shit. Let's call it what it is. But so much of him is like he is his own worst enemy and won't listen to fucking anybody about stuff. You know, and it feels like you're watching. Yeah, he's gonna make great art, but like you're still watching a train crash in slow motion.
Yeah, no, that's true, man. To be honest, I feel like that's one of the most tragic things. Like when you see like someone that would have been like a hero grow up to just do some foul stuff.
That's right.
You know, all the stuff that he's been saying.
It's crazy.
All the Jew stuff, the Hitler stuff. Is you know, I don't fuck with that. You know, all of that, and it's just embarrassing. I'm not Jewish, but I got Jewish friends. I don't appreciate that. Shit puts me down. Obviously, I know there's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now, but I don't think you should be hating anyone just based on like
I agree
who they are, where they're from, how they identify. And I feel like Ye has been one of the most disappointing ones to see where he's taken it and the influence he's had as well. I mean, you mentioned him a minute ago. It's like I bumped into Sneako in Miami. And
how was that?
Not good, man.
What happened?
We were out for dinner. I was out for dinner with some other creators, and he popped up. He just started talking a bunch of foul shit about how much this is when the Kanye Hitler thing was going on. Sneako talking about how great Hitler is, talking to him W Hitler, talking about Whitler, and I'm like, bro, I'm like, bro, allow that. And then he's like, oh, I remember Sneako. He says like, oh, apart from you might want to cut this out for demonetization, but Sneako was like, oh well, apart from the Jews, what did Hitler do that was so bad? And I was like, bro, I'm British. He bombed my country. You don't know what the fuck. You don't know shit about history. Shut up. And like,
God, he's such an attention whore.
But that's just from him clout sucking what Ye was saying at the time, dissing on Jewish people. And it just goes to show you how this influence these people that don't know anything about what they're talking about. And Ye, because of his position as a genius in the art, he's so influential. When he spouts this dumb shit that he doesn't think about, people are out here spreading these opinions, acting like Hitler was a good guy. Like, you are Americans, you were at war with this guy. How this guy killed your grandparents, probably. Right. You know, how are you running around saying that? You got your little mini-me saying shit like that. So
people are so influenced these days, like, and we're all susceptible to it. But like the streamer culture, you know, I don't understand it because I haven't really been in it. But some of it, like I've seen some videos on YouTube of like some opinion streamers going back and forth, and there's some good stuff. Like there's some good little debates and stuff like that. But so much of it is like, yeah, chat, W chat, all right, go chat. And all day they just wake up, they take a fuck ton of Vyvanse and Adderall, right? Or maybe they rip some blow if they're down in Miami or somewhere where they're getting good stuff like that. I'm sure he does. Thank you for watching the video, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.